Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our /EntitledPeople, where Karens do practically anything they want. And in today's episode, we've got Karens stalking people, getting arrested, embarrassing themselves, and one Karen destroys her cushy career after yelling at the wrong person. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories. Don't shake your heads too hard. And as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So this happened a few years ago at a major airport in the US. I worked as a pilot for an airline, and I was on my way home when this happened. My last flight before time off put us on the ground around noon, and being off duty, I immediately changed out of my uniform and took a seat from the gates where my flight home would depart from. Behind me was a rambunctious child who was using the seats as her personal playground, and she was randomly squealing and screaming while doing so. The squeals are like nails on a chalkboard to me, but it's the reality of things. I just ignore it and browse through my tablet. The next thing I know, I catch a full scream into my ear. I turn my head, and the kid's literally a couple of centimeters from my face and is hanging off the back of my chair. I immediately snap at the kid saying, "Do not scream into my ear." And that's when the Karen mom, who was just letting this happen, loses her mind. The woman darts up, standing over the seat behind me, and she yells at me saying, "Don't you dare yell at my kid, how dare you?" The kid, meanwhile, has a shocked look, but she settles down and goes silent. Karen then continues on, trying to goad me into arguing with her, and eventually doing everything but actually putting hands on me to escalate this into a physical fight. The woman even tries to encourage her kid to scream in my ear again, to which the kid just sat there quietly. I initially stare at her for a few seconds, and then went back to ignoring her and the situation and go back to looking at my tablet. The woman continues having a meltdown for 10 minutes before the man with her collected her, the kid, their things, and then went elsewhere. I do feel bad for that kid, as I can't see her future ending well with that sort of guidance. It was also a shame that the mom flipped, as I likely would have given the kid wings that my company supplies us with after the kid calmed down. Oh boy, that is some grade A parenting right there, right? And honestly, I'm just shocked that the husband just sat there doing absolutely nothing while Karen just lost it on OP. I wish she wasn't allowed on the flight after that, because she needs to learn a lesson. And she also needs to learn that if she doesn't discipline her kid, maybe one day someone else will. And this person comments, and the next time she decides to scream at someone who's rightfully disciplining her kid, they may not be as calm and as generous as OP. There's plenty of unhinged psychos out there that would think nothing of beating her butt for having the audacity to complain about this, which is a damn shame, because it would be incredibly traumatic to the kid who's done nothing wrong, just been unlucky enough to have an idiot for a mother. I'm an overnight cashier at a gas station, and it's pretty chill most nights. There's a few bad apples as always, but nothing too bad. Every now and then, I'll get an entitled customer that demands I sell them beer without an ID, which is against state law, or sell them cigarettes despite being underaged. Sorry kids, that's not happening. One lady though, she really got under my skin. This happened a while back. So the woman comes in around 11:30, so well past the time we shut down our lottery. I keep an eye on her, and I notice that she has one of those ball draw style lotto cards in her hand. So I call out and I explain that our machine is off for the night, so I can't sell her the tickets. The woman scoffs loudly and she says I'm lying, I just don't want to do my job. I then reiterate that the machine's off, so she'll have to return at 5 a.m. when the machine's ready for service. The woman then throws the ticket on the ground and she stomps to the beer. Now, I'm already annoyed, and in my head, I know I'll make sure my coworker takes care of her next time. I don't want to deal with this drama. The woman comes back to the counter with beer cans in tow, and she slams them on the counter. I just grab one to scan and ask for her ID. The lady once again scoffs, and she asked if that's really necessary. The woman says she has wrinkles older than me. I explain it's store policy and state law to see ID for alcohol purchases. We go back and forth for 5 minutes, and it only ends when I tell her that she can give me the ID so I can do my job, or she can leave beerless and lotto-less. She then passes me her ID with her face bright red, and the lady just starts going off at this point, saying I need to lose my job, and my manager, whom she called by name, would be so upset to hear how I'm treating a regular. So I just write my name and my manager's free time for the next day, and I tell her that she's free to come in and complain about me for doing my job. It'll go absolutely great for her. The woman snatches the paper and she starts asking me to sell her cigarettes. I tell her I'm not selling her anything else, as she's repeatedly made me uncomfortable and I have the right to refuse service to anyone for any reason. She leaves screaming that she's gonna come back and kick my ass. I leave a long text message to my manager in the group chat explaining what happened, along with a description of her. A couple of hours later, some of my regulars come in for their nightly coffees. 2 of them were local sheriffs, so I give them the rundown of what happened. One of them promises to swing through a few times for a few nights to make sure she's not causing trouble. And here's where it gets good. She had parked at the front of the store, so I had a perfect view of her license plates, so I took note and waited. The lady shows up 2 nights later and she parks by the dumpster. She's standing on the sidewalk for 2 whole hours waiting for me to come outside. About an hour in, I call the tow service our store uses. I say that there's a broken down car in the parking lot in prime parking position, as per rules. The cops then come through as they always do for coffee, and they ask me if she's the customer harassing me, and I confirm it. They go out and talk to her. At this point, the tow truck pulls in. The lady starts walking away from the cops to talk to the driver. She's confused and pissed at this point. Now, I didn't get to hear much of the encounter, but I watched as she got arrested and put in the back of the cop car, and they waited for the tow truck to finish hauling off her car before leaving. I have no idea what happened to her. She hasn't come back in, and I didn't get in trouble with management. Yeah, that lady seemed super unhinged and deserved to be arrested. Like, it bothered her that much, guys, that for 2 days, she stewed on it, and then she came back and literally waited 2 hours to beat up a gas station attendant. Like, it is absolutely mind-boggling the length that some people will go to absolutely ruin their own lives over nothing. Okay, so last night at around 10 p.m., I was taking my dog for a walk through the neighborhood. We don't have a yard, so I have to walk her 3 times a day so she can do her business. I always pick up after her, and usually people give me a friendly wave when they see us, but not tonight. My dog starts doing her duty at the edge of someone's yard while I stand on the street holding the leash. I'm starting to pull out my poop bag when this woman comes running up to us yelling, "Don't let your dog poop here." Hearing that, I was surprised and weirded out, but I told her, "Don't worry, I'm picking it up." The woman keeps getting closer to us yelling, "No, don't you dare ever let your dog poop on my property. My window's open and I don't want to smell it. Control your dog. Make your dog stop." My dog is mid-turd at the moment, so I explain that dogs don't work that way. I tell her I can't just stop her from pooping, but I will pick it up. But the lady's not listening to me. She keeps getting closer to us, yelling about dog poop or something. My dog then starts growling at her, so I warn her by saying, "Please don't get close to my dog, she bites." And this is when the lady says, "Okay, well, I'm calling the cops. They are gonna arrest you." I tell her that's fine, and I ask her to please go into her house to call the cops. The woman tries to enter her house, but it seems whoever lives there has locked her out of the house. I wonder why. So she starts running toward me again, and I again warn her that my dog will bite. My dog's growling and barking now because dogs don't like screaming Karens in their face. Karen then starts screaming at me to pick up the poop and that she's calling the police to have me arrested. I just tell her, "Ma'am, I'll deal with that later. Right now, your hostile behavior is creating this unsafe situation for me and my dog, so we're gonna leave right now." And this is where it gets worse. She starts screaming profanities, calling me names, and chasing after me. I just continue to walk away, thinking it'll end there. But no, she continues to follow me down the street. I can hear her telling them that I threatened her with a dog bite, and to please hurry before she gets bit. I just keep on walking, knowing the cops are going to tell her to go home or something, and they'll deal with it later. She continues to walk behind me at about a 15-foot distance. She's now yelling in another language at someone who I assume is the person who locked her out of the house. I just hope she'll stop following me eventually so I can go home. I don't want her to see where I live, so I take several detours, but the woman keeps following me from 15 feet away. I don't have my phone, so I can't call for help. So I decide to head downtown to find someone to help. And here's the thing, the lady followed me almost a mile into town. From 15 feet away, she just silently followed me while I walked my dog through neighborhoods, business districts, and across the highway into town, and she had her phone out recording me the whole time. I just eventually turn around and tell the lady to stop following me. She then starts yelling, "You will follow me back to my house for the police to arrest you. You threatened me with a dog bite, so follow me now. The police want to arrest you." So I told her, "Sure, I'll follow you. You lead the way." And the woman almost fell for it, but she saw me trying to slip away and she turned around and starts her whole yelling thing over again. The young men outside the bar I passed just kept talking amongst themselves. I just continued walking through town with the lady following me, recording me on her phone. I finally ran into a woman who approached me with a very concerned look on her face. I said to her, "Hey, can you please help me? This lady's been following me for over an hour." The nice lady said, "I know, I've been watching this go on for a minute." She then confronts Karen, telling her to leave me alone. The nice lady then looked at me and said, "Just go." So while Karen's busy yelling at this nice lady about how my dog pooped or whatever, I just start running. I ran through a couple of businesses and onto the back streets, and I managed to lose Karen. I then walked a full mile back to my house and locked the door behind me. I don't know what kind of crazy that was. All I know is I feel really bad for whoever was inside that house with the doors locked. I hope they're okay. Again, like, some people have way too much time on their hands, and in my opinion, OP let that go on for way too long. Like, over an hour of a Karen just following OP and filming them. Like, how many of you would have turned around and slapped that phone out of her hands and just booked it? And also, the comment about making the dog stop pooping halfway, like, Karens demand the most outrageous things, don't they? So this happened a few months back, 2 weeks before Easter, and I forgot about it until I picked up the same book recently from my shelf. And here's a quick backstory. I'm near deaf in my right ear, and I'm dimming a bit in my left, from having tubes in my ears as a kid, from major ear infections. Because of this, I can't hear myself well, and I often speak softly or keep quiet entirely. Anyways, on to the story. So I was on my day off, hanging out by a lovely lake not far from my place, and checking out the sailing ships there too, as I'm a maritime and sailing ship nerd. Afterward, I went to a nearby restaurant to eat and enjoy the book I'm reading at the moment, which is the book called Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Now, bear in mind, I was sitting with my right side facing the exit of the booth, and I barely heard anyone, and I didn't pay attention to anyone. My nice waiter complimented on my choice of reading, as it's a true classic literature tale. So halfway into the intriguing part, I get this tap on my shoulder. I look up, and I see a normal-looking lady, the Karen. She seems a bit shocked, and I'm confused. The woman says to me, "Excuse me, but don't you think that book is a bit inappropriate in a restaurant where kids are present?" I'm a bit confused hearing that, so I say, "I'm sorry, what do you mean?" Karen goes on and says, "That book you're reading, it's an adult book. You shouldn't read that in here, so put that away, please." Hearing that, I sigh internally, but I do understand a bit, since the title to some people is a bit misleading. I just tell Karen, "Ma'am, I assure you it's not an inappropriate book. It's classic literature, a seafaring tale about men hunting for a whale in..." She then cuts me off rudely and says, "There is no classic literature book with such an inappropriate title. How is Moby's Dick a classic literature title? Don't you lie to me." I tell her, "Ma'am, I'm not lying, I swear, and the book is called Moby Dick. The name Moby Dick is the name of the whale in the tale, the ones the characters are searching for." Karen then starts screaming at me saying, "Stop saying that word." I tell her, "Ma'am, that's the whale's nickname. That's basically a common abbreviation for men with the name Richard." Karen just says, "Listen, you and I both know what that word means. What you're reading is disgusting, and I will be taking it away." The woman then tries to grab the book out of my hands, and I'm thinking, oh no, no one takes my books. So I pick up my book before she did, and I quickly hide it behind me as I scooch back with my book gripped in my hands. And of course, the Karen gets angry. She shouts very loud as she tries to get closer to reach around to grab my book. My waiter and a well-dressed man come over and they pull back the lady to try to calm her down while keeping a distance between us. My waiter says, "Are you okay?" I don't answer him as I could feel my heart rate rising as I'm still anxious and scared of this woman. The woman then starts screaming for a manager, saying I'm reading an explicit book in public and that I'm being disrespectful. The manager comes over at this point and he takes one look at my book and he bursts out laughing. The manager, not amused with this woman's banter, then looks at her and tries to tell her that what I'm reading is not porn and it's none of her business, and that she needs to leave because she's now banned from the restaurant for harassing another customer. The woman just screams, "Why should I be thrown out?" And the manager tells her she was doing nothing and what she enjoys reading is her own choice, not yours. I have cameras in the restaurant and we can call the cops as you harassed her and tried to steal her property. Now leave. Karen straightens up, grabs her purse from a nearby table and spills her drink on the table and floor, and then just storms out. I was stunned by her childlike behavior and I'm glad she's gone. And the rest of the people in there just pretty much ignored us. The manager gives me a free meal and a coupon for next time. I still give a good tip to my waiter and I thank them once more for their help and I got to enjoy my book a while longer. I'm just glad the police weren't involved and she just left, but I feel so bad that she left a mess for the poor employees to clean up, all because of a book's title that she misinterpreted as being inappropriate. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that Karen was ignorant on so many levels, and I have a feeling that she just made a mistake and doubled down on it. And honestly, even if OP was reading a book like that in public, it would be a bajillion times better to say absolutely nothing than to shout, "Oh my goodness, porn, because that surely won't draw attention. So back when I was in college, my pathophysiology class had a final project worth 50% of the total grades we could earn, and groups were picked at the beginning of the semester. Now this was a massive project that you were expected to start working on at the beginning of the semester, and if you thought you could do it all last minute, you were probably in for a bad time. It was myself, 2 other girls who I knew that worked hard, and this one other guy that one girl was crushing on. She had to add him to our group because he was cute or something. I have no idea. I call him idiot every time I tell this story though, because he was truly an idiot. The girls were fantastic, and everyone pulled their own weight during this project, with the exception of Idiot. Idiot never once did any of the project work. He ignored all the messages through texting and Facebook, but he would answer that one girl if she was flirting with him, and he would only show up to class maybe twice a month, if that. He would constantly post photos of himself on vacation to Mexico or the Bahamas, and I'm pretty sure he spent more time out of the country than in it. So 1 week before the project's due, he messages the group asking what pages in the textbook he needs to look through to do his part of the project. We tell him what he needs to do and where to find the information. We laid everything out for him, and if we did anything more, we would be better off doing his part of the project ourselves. So Idiot thanks us and then disappears. We all assumed he was doing the work he needed to do. We were all prepared to take a hit on our marks because he didn't have anything done up until now, so the quality of his work was probably terrible at best. The project due date rolls around and he's nowhere to be found, and he's ignoring all of our desperate messages. Myself and the 2 girls go to the professor and we tell her everything that happened, along with the screenshots of literal months worth of conversations where we constantly tried to get Idiot to come to labs with us or the library, where we offered to help him do his part. The professor was not amused and immediately fires off an email to Idiot and CC'd the head of the program as well, basically saying that Idiot needs to do his part and show up to class the next week with it, or he'll receive a 0 and the rest of us won't be affected. And can you guess what happened? Well, Idiot was a no answer and no show, with no excuses or anything, so the professor gives him a big fat 0. It turns out he needed to do this project and do well on it to pass because he's bombed every test, and with this failure, he was denied from passing that semester. I'm fairly certain he had to retake that course during the summer, which means that he'll have to shell out another $1,300 just for that class. A couple of months later, in the college bookstore, Idiot and his mom run into myself and the other girl, and his mom goes full Karen on us and just loses it on the girl and I. She was screaming at us, saying we constantly harassed her son, and she was gonna make it impossible for myself or the girl to find work. And here's the thing. Idiot's mom worked in the same field that our degrees were for. She sat on the board of directors for the Public Health Alliance for the area, so she was a public figure, and supposedly a well-behaved and educated one too. Her tantrum led her to be escorted out by security shortly after, but that wasn't all she had planned. Karen ends up dragging myself and the girl through every single college meeting they could schedule regarding our non-existent negative behavior towards her son, where he claimed he was constantly harassed, yet with no proof. It was months of this poor girl and I having to change our schedule for school classes and studying, so we didn't have any run-ins with Idiot, as that's what the college demanded we do. It made our last year or 2 semesters living hell, because we couldn't be anywhere near Idiot, otherwise we could face interdisciplinary hearings or even worse. And here's where we got back at him. The security company that handled the contract for the college was also the same company that handled the contract where I used to work. I was extremely close friends with the night shift supervisor, so one night after I finished work, I asked him for a favor. I asked him to let me email the video to my personal email account. After I told him what happened and on what day and time it happened, he drove me to the campus. Just after the main building had closed, him and I walked over to a security office where they have all the recordings that run back to the day the security system was installed. He brought up the video of Idiot's mom in the college bookstore, audio and all, of her screaming at myself and my friend. He recognized Karen, and it turns out she's done this before at a different site he patrols, and that he's told he had to keep it quiet by his superiors. I told him he could be as quiet as he wanted, but I was gonna get back at her. A quick email later, and I was in possession of the video. I found out who the rest of the board members were over the course of a few days, and they were all sent an email with the video of Karen losing it in the college bookstore, screaming at an obviously confused guy and a freaked out girl. The audio perfectly captured the moment where she threatened to make it impossible for me or the girl to find any work anywhere in that district, followed by her argument with the security as she was escorted out. I never received any replies from the board members, so I just waited to see what happened. Karen was voted out of her position the following week, after the video was shown during one of the meetings she was attending. She lost her very cushy government job, and she was last seen working in an old age home, according to a mutual friend. Now, I'm not sure what happened to Idiot, but I did hear from the same mutual friend that he never did graduate and he works at a call center now. The girl and I end up finding full-time work immediately after graduating. We never had an issue there. My goodness, karma is one heck of a thing, isn't it? And really, with cameras all around nowadays, I am freaking surprised people still do this stuff. Like, careers and businesses are ended all the time due to public freakouts getting recorded. And I sure hope Karen learned her lesson. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy, crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/entitled people episode, another one, where a smug Karen thinks she owns a public playground and she gets absolutely destroyed. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.